African American settlements in western North Carolina, and one of the few remaining in the region today. With such an important part of history right here at hand, the book Junaluska, Oral Histories of the Black Appalachian Community, has been the focus of much attention and study. Through the university's Common Reading Program, the book is assigned to all incoming students this year. The Book Reads Together project is part of the town's 150th anniversary celebration, and the Walker College's Shared Reading Initiative, where students and faculty in our college have received a free copy of the book for their own enrichment. Tonight we will hear from 4 members of the Junaluska community whose career paths have included work here at Appalachian, and who can provide a present-day perspective. As we listen, I hope we will learn more about the community and be more aware of the contributions these individuals and those who came before them have made, as well as the challenges that they face. I want to thank our Chief Diversity Officer, Jamie Carson, for her continued support of this program, as well as that state's Office of Diversity, which has subsidized the purchase of many of our participant copies of Junaluska and helped fund the reception that we will enjoy in the lobby after this discussion. I hope you will all attend. Now I invite our panelists to join me on stage, and I also welcome Tracy Oyster, Director of Staff Development and Strategic Initiatives for the Office of Student Affairs, to introduce our panel and moderate this courageous conversation. Thank you.
Never had asked that question before. So I want to thank Dean Sandy Benoit, the Long College of Business, and our Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. James Carson, for this event. We are excited. These women are excited to be here and share some of their stories with us. So as they are getting hooked up to the microphone, we'll get started in just a minute. Now, I'm fortunate to know and love these ladies so much, so what an extra treat. Okay, I'm going to jump right into our questions. The first one, can you introduce yourselves and share where you went to school and where you worked?
Hi, I'm Liz Patterson, and I went to Hardin Park Elementary School and Buck High School and NC State for a year, and then back at Appalachian where I finished my undergraduate at Appalachian. My first job here on campus was in the Walker College of Business. I worked in the economics department, and Dr. Larry Ellis hired me straight off the stage as the department secretary, and I heard one thing. But in those 7 years, I appreciate the opportunity that he gave me first and foremost. I learned the network here on campus, so that was one of the biggest jobs that I ever had. I don't think currently I work for my English letters.
I'm Wanda Coles, and I went to an elementary school called Appalachian Elementary, which was integrated at that time that I went to elementary school. And then I graduated from Watauga High School, and then I came
since I'm the oldest sitting up here, my experiences in Boone was a lot different from theirs. I went to Catawba Consolidated School, which was a black school. And then in 1960, they built us a new school up on Windway, up on the mountain, as we say. And I graduated from there and went to school at Winston-Salem State, came back, started working at ASU, went back to school, got my teaching degree, but by that time I was too old. No, I had a rare form of arthritis that would not allow me to stand up and teach the children. And I felt like I would do a disservice to them if I couldn't be at my best. So I went back to ASU in the physical plant and worked there until I retired. So I had 30 years of service there.
Good afternoon, I'm Demetra Ball, and I went to school at Hardin Elementary School, and then I went on to Watauga High School, graduated, and then I went to Utica College, and now I'm at Appalachian working, and I've been working at Appalachian for the past 18 years. I started working in university housing, I stayed there for 12 years, then moved to the Vice Chancellor's Office of Student Affairs, was there for 4 years, and now I am currently in the agricultural student affairs.
Thank you. So, as you mentioned, each of you have worked on Appalachian's campus at some point in your life. So we have 2 retirees and 2 current employees. How has your Appalachian experience impacted you and what you feel on our campus?
Like I said before, I think being given the opportunity to do a job and nothing about having a lawyer trust me enough to figure it out, and let me figure it out. And that's kind of been my situation all the way through my employment. I've been at the university for 31 years, and I've been blessed enough to have employer supervisors who believed in my talent and let me explore those talents and kind of push me over and become professional. And the university has been a blessing and a godsend for our family. I was raised on campus to get off the bus and come to varsity again and play. And the same with my daughter, she was raised on campus. So it's been a good thing for my family and our community.
I think my experience on campus, which we weren't directly on campus, CDC is located on Parker Road 105. And I think that I was blessed to get that job, and I think it was the job that I was born to do because they're babies and children, and that I loved. And so I have met a lot of wonderful families by working there, and we just became, a good, loving, and supportive community at the CDC, and it was a great experience for me. I loved it, and I retired from there in 2018.
It's been so long, but I enjoyed working on campus too, and I'm not Wanda. I wasn't directly on campus. I was with the physical plant, and that was down at State Farm. And so I didn't see people from day to day, but it was a great experience for me. It was a learning experience because I worked with people who never worked with a black person before, and we would have discussions, and I learned from them and they learned from me. And I really enjoyed, campus. And I retired there after 30 years.
This impacted me, it's providing me with a job for here. And I learned new things and new skills that I didn't know I had. So I moved up in my career. And it's also given me the opportunity to build relationships and also the exposure to our community in Wesco. through the book, and oral history is becoming a freshman reading book, so that's a pretty big deal. So the exposure and networking has been quite a blessing.
And also, being there for students of color, any students that work with. I think the thing that Appalachian does well is that we focus on our students, first and foremost, educating our students, making sure that they get the best possible deal out of the money that they pay into Appalachian. We want our students to do well and to succeed. And I think feeling like you're a part of that is gratifying as an employee.
I feel like I learn something new every day from the students.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful for that. So, yeah, faithful to the young people.
Okay. What do you remember from your childhood about how you made sense of human differences, particularly around race?
Well, considering that I'm the oldest, and I never went to an integrated school. I was always in the segregated school. And even when I went to college at Winston-Salem State, it was predominantly a black school. And I remember when I first realized that some people considered me different. I had gone on a trip with my uncle and aunt to Morristown, Tennessee, and we stopped to get something to eat. And we walked in this restaurant, and everybody got so quiet, and I couldn't understand why. And they said, "We can't serve you in here. If you want to come around to the back, we'll serve you what you want to eat or what you'd like to buy from us." And that made me realize I was different than other, or people thought I was different from other people, but I think that was a good learning lesson. I needed that.
Everybody's experience is different on this panel, and also in the community. So, like Roberta says, when she experienced having to go around the back and serve, I never had to do that, but growing up, of course, it's obviously really different. Our skin tone, but I had a good close-knit group of friends. They never made me feel like I was different. I was one of them, but at the same time, there were racist things that would come up, and we had to defend ourselves. But like I said, I can only speak from my experience and hearing other people's experiences in this community, and people coming in from other cities and states. Their experience is going to be a little different than mine, because I grew up here. But as far as that, I feel like I've been blessed with a good, close set of friends I'm still friends with now, but I'm not saying that racism didn't exist. I'm not saying it not exist. I feel a little remiss to say that, and also a little naive, but you just deal with it. You surround yourself by positive people, and I think that that's the key to a healthy mind and community.
I think for me, I realized that this county is different and that this town is different from a lot of other places in the state. When I went to NC State, I went with my cousin, my aunt Sandy's daughter, and we had friends from high school that also attended NC State with us. And I think it was once a month we would meet up in the cafeteria and eat. And this was back in 1985. We would sit there and we would notice how quiet the town was around us in Raleigh, because we would talk, and it was, especially Coy, because my cousin Kathy and I like to pick at Coy, and we would pick at Coy, or you need to do a black girlfriend, So, but everybody else around us was like, it was unheard of. We didn't exist in the state capitol in 85. When all of my cousins up here, you could walk around campus and in town and you see mixed race couples. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the campus is here. And it's funny because when I went to school at Appalachian too, graduated from here, and alumni will call me and say, hey,
much for you all sharing your childhood experiences and perspectives. So as we move from childhood to current day, to present day, what do you feel like is the status of race relations in Boone from your perspective? And how do you feel like it's changed over time, if it's changed over time?
Well, I think that, I wrote down some stuff. I think that race relations in Boone was kind of hard back then for Black people. I don't think the white people really was against being, Black and white together back then. And they didn't want us to be holding, like important positions back then. And so I think today it's changed a lot because now we have several Black police officers, and we have Blacks marrying whites, whites and Blacks going together. And so it's important. It was important that, and then especially now, in our churches, we have a lot of diversity in our churches, and especially at our church. And then I grew up in the church. We welcome all into our church.
Racism is real, we all know that, it's a world issue. So it does exist here, I do know that, so I'm not naive to that. It also comes in different forms than just racial slurs. How you're treated on your job, whether you get a promotion or whether someone fights for you or stands up for you, or has your back or champions for you. To me, that's also, you can tie that to racism. Like I said, we are blessed because, we grew up in this area. Roberta experiences a completely different from ours, and she saw some harsh things. Not saying she saw some harsh things, but at the same time, those things may not be going on now, but it's still, the history is still repeating itself. And things are happening today that it still lets us know that racism is still running rampant in this community and this world. So, like I said, it does come in many forms. So it doesn't just have to be racial slurs. It's also how you're treated on your job, how you're made to feel on your job, and just in the community as a whole. So, I mean, really, not just Alaska, but that's my take on that. So.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you about that. People are people, and people are more concerned anymore with themselves than they are with others. That's why I'm glad we do have our church that we have, because we welcome everybody and anybody, because we're taught to love people, no matter how they treat us or how you. See, I'm used to having people. I would go to town as a young girl. We couldn't go by ourselves, but we went as a group. And there would be little white kids who would just look and point at us because they'd never seen a Black person before. I guess is what it was. So I just took it for the fact that they were having a new experience and they're learning about us and we're learning about them. I know I mentioned to one of the women, white women that I work with, about Ebony and Jet magazine, and she had never heard of them. I said, "You've never heard of Ebony and Jet magazine?" And she said, "No." I said, "I'll have to bring you one so you can see what it's like." But it happens. You just learn to live with it and go on.
I think over the past couple of years, we are seeing more and more things that where race is really plays a part in it. And the things you see in the news, critical race theory, just some of the things that we've seen over the past couple of years have been disheartening, but it's kind of like Roberta says, people, I feel sometimes as in people, especially having gone through COVID, are more me-centered. So their empathy for other people and what other people are going through is less than it used to be. I don't think that people of color need to grow thicker skins. We've had thick skins our whole lives. So, yeah, we expect it, but I think we are surprised. I can only speak for myself. I'm surprised at some of the things that people say and do now that at one time was just not done. It was not followed. So I know you can never go back home again, but I would like to get back to the place where we as a nation start thinking more about other people. And I don't know, I hate that it takes tragedy to get us to come together sometimes. And I hope that's not what happens this time. But I think we need to get back to the place that we remember that we're all, we're all here, we're all people. And I think the importance is that we share our stories. And if you know that, I have this thing where I don't like my food to touch, it's going to be harder for you to call me or to put me in bad terms if I cut you off in traffic or whatever. Because I'm that lady that doesn't like her food to touch, and she's crazy because she doesn't. So, just the little things. I think if we take the time to speak and get to know people, I think we can get rid of some of the stuff that is going on. But, I'm not Pollyanna. I'm like nature. I know there's some bad things. There's some bad things happen in this world. Racism exists. But I think that's when we need to do our part. And I think,
To me, all it takes is just getting to know someone, even if they look different or different than you. Because I think a lot of people think about fear, and you fear what you don't know or what you're not familiar with. So if you just take the time to get to know someone, you might actually like them. You might actually learn something. I do know that in my current position in intercultural student affairs, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different student groups. Chinese Cultural Club, Black Student Association, and I love it. I love it because I get to experience their culture. I learn from that, and I just soak it all in. So I'm like a kid, soaking it up like a sponge. And to me, the more you know, and the more you get to know somebody, the more you grow. So I really don't see the fear in that, but it's having these conversations, even tough conversations, bringing everybody to the table, giving everybody a voice, to just tell their story and why they feel the way they do. To me, if you just have healthy dialogue and just talk it out, that's when you start getting results. When you start seeing differences. And, as long as we, come together in a respectful way, you can oppose each other. That's fine, because not everybody's going to agree. But if you just make it safe for everybody to bring their opinion, their thoughts, their feelings, don't discount anybody's feelings, just give them a space, a platform to share how they feel. We will get different results. We have to get past that fear.
So this next question, everybody doesn't have to answer, but I want to. But could you give us a brief description of the Jim Lusso community as it is today? I know that you all will have different perspectives of that, so everybody can participate, but somebody does.
I think when I was young, there were more people, more kids. We don't have the children that we used to have. I consider our community an aging community of people. So it used to be people were always outside playing, running, kids doing this, but since COVID came in and a lot of us are older, we are more careful about standing out, talking to people. But the community is still there. My son called me yesterday sending my tithes to the church. And how do I do that? He said, can I put them in your checking account and you pay it for me? And I said, yes, I'd be glad to, because even the people who used to live here that don't live here anymore consider this as home. This is home. And they want it to be here, even if it has changed and gotten quieter.
The biggest concern to me is the gentrification of the neighborhood and the space. And my grandfather used to say that the only thing they're not making more of is land. So it's important that our people, and we've done some things in those efforts, learn how to hold on to the land that they've been, that's been in families for generations. So we're working towards that. Housing is real. Everyone in here has a housing situation in this county. And it doesn't skip our community either. I think we would have more people return to the community if they wanted to. But just like everywhere else, no one can afford to really move from where they are right now. I have a lot of cousins that would love to come home, love to bring. In fact, they moved their aging parents in with them, would love to move their aging parents back here, but there's really nowhere for them to come. There's no space. So it's like Mom said, the community is aging, it's getting older, but we're still there, still vibrant, still do what we need to do, taking care of this, still representing, I think. So, I think
The love is still there.
the love is still there.
The blood's way here is still there. From the people that have gone on with the Lord. So there's changes, of course, but no matter the changes, that is still there. That deep, rich, our roots are still there. So I'll be proud.
So I have a question that, it's a little surprise question. So, but I just thought about, but I hear you all talking about faith and God and the Good Mennonite Brethren Church. How has being involved, being a member or a congregant of that church impacted you?
I think it's really helped me. I have been in the church, been in that church for years, since I was a teenager, I would say after years. But I grow continuously, every day, every time we have Bible study or Sunday school. I learn something I didn't know before, and I think it makes me a better person. And that's what I'm supposed to be, as a better person. So I'm striving for that.
It's impacted me in a way that I feel like I've become a little more bold, able to speak out and speak up. It might be so nervous. We're asking about showing. Our Pastor Mike, he has seen things in me that I didn't realize was there. So I'm grateful for that. And my faith has really grown just in different situations. And sometimes I find myself just taking a minute to breathe and just be like, oh Lord, I have to. And then just thinking about, what I should do. And then, if I just spend a little time just praying, I'm able to speak out and step boldly, feel comfortable with what I'm saying. That's how I pray.
Well, the church has been my rock. I grew up in the Mennonite church, and my dad, he was a deacon in the choir. And my brother, Harvey, he became a deacon. My mom, she was a Sunday school teacher. And so like Roberta said, I learned all the time from the church and from my wonderful pastor and his wife. And they helped me a lot going through different things in my life. And I love my church.
But for me, it's the centerpiece of our community, and it is the meaning but it's a place where we come to feel that sense of community. You know, when we went into COVID lockdown, we continued. We never missed a beat. We continued church online and getting everybody up to speed and online was a little tough. But that next Sunday, right after we shut down, we had everybody on there, and we offer a hybrid service now because I think people need the strength of the church and the strength of our pastor, who's a daredevil man. I want to be. Anyway, it takes too many risks. But the strength of our church, the strength of the community, and the strength of faith to get us through some tough times. And it's been and continues to be.
I also know that there are some members from the Boone Mennonite Brethren Church here with us this afternoon. So if you'd stand, and our pastor, Pastor Mike Mathis, and First Lady Venus Mathis. And those of you who are attending tonight, thank you very much for being here. How do you think the experience of the Junaluska community is different from the experience of maybe other Black communities who have moved to the area to work or study, maybe sometimes for transport?
When we first started doing our Junaluska heritage and looking into our history, because the Mennonites are pacifist, and we don't believe in serving in wars. I mean, we don't believe, a lot of the things that we believe, and embrace. And I think the sheer location and how horrible the winters used to be, I think we had a better experience than a lot of places, for instance, in other places down in the state. And like I said, my freshman year of college was indicative of that to me because, the fact that I'm sitting here having lunch with someone of a different color and enjoying it was just something that's simply not done in the big city of Raleigh, North Carolina. So I think our race relations have been better, up here, but, Black is.
We're also, we've lived here all our lives, so we know each other. People coming from other states, this can also be a culture shock for them too. So that's the difference, and being used to being here and keeping being here, because of course diversity is always welcome and everything, and
I have one more question before we invite the audience to ask questions, and then I have another one after that. So what has been the importance of the Junaluska book for the community? And has anything changed or shifted in this past year after the book became the common reading book for Appalachian State University?
the exposure. Yeah, getting our stories out. People are curious. They're excited about our community now. I mean, not saying that they haven't been in the past, but I mean, this book becomes a freshman reading book. That's a good thing. I see people tell me all the time, I'm either reading it or have read it. Young people, I'm in there. So yes, it's been amazing to get the exposure for our community, to get our stories out there. So.
We were doing pretty well before we became the reading book, and it just skyrocketed. So it's been, a labor of love. We've had a lot of activities around it. So it's like when Dr. Russell called me, he goes, "It's been Jackson." I said, "Yay!" And I said, "Oh no." What it means for an entire year. And there are projects all over the place. In fact, there's a project in the library, where we're doing quilt squares. We're asking classes to come in and make quilt squares, and eventually we're going to put that all together and make one big quilt associated with the book. But just absolutely thrilled that we were chosen and that our stories
to get ourselves out there so that people will know that we're here and that we've been here all of our lives. We've contributed to the growth of the town and whatever. But the book has really put together, because if you notice in some of those stories, they're pretty old. They're not just modern day. They're from years ago. And there's things that were going on even now, or I was reading Joseph Grimes' story, and he said, we got married and we moved to blah, blah, and then we stayed there so many years and we come back. And I said, oh, is that where they were? See, I didn't know either because I was raising my family, you know, but to know that we were there, and I told Sophie, the feel that she gave the book, there's a feeling that, hey, this is a pretty nice place. And I think a lot of it had, we helped her with it. We helped edit books or stories, but she got the gist of how we are as a community.
And we also have a little children's book too, so you'll learn a little more history about that as well.
Okay, now I will open it up to questions from the audience.
This goes for Amy and all of you guys. Oh, wow. What would you say your biggest personal challenges have been with specifically with the population growth within the student body over the last couple of years?
Probably connecting to those students, especially during COVID, it's hard to get to know students online. I mean, Canvas kind of has some background, but just connecting, and it's growing. The population is growing, and I don't think either of us would say, oh, okay, it's growing. You know, we love the fact that we can bring more students and educate students. That's really good. But just being able to connect and get that feeling of community.
Part, but I take every opportunity to, every opportunity I get to connect with students, I will do it, so.
We may have to hand this around. I don't know how there are. Other questions?
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for sharing today, talking to us. I want to ask, could you talk a little more about the businesses that were out there in the community, like the chocolate bar?
Well, the chocolate bar was a little before my time, but my mom and dad both are in the, we have 3 pictures, I think, of the chocolate people in the chocolate bar being fed. And my mom and dad are both in those pictures. And it's great just to be able to see that we had a place. We've always had a place where we could go to or come to keep our community together. And the chocolate bar was one of those places.
We used to have grocery stores too. I remember my aunt, my great aunt, had a convenience store, and she had a soda machine, and we would go put a quarter in the soda machine, and it was just like just regular soda. So we, you know, when we were little, we wanted that quarter
Thanks, thank you.
Any more questions?
Hello, can you hear me? It looks like it's white, doesn't it? This book was really eye-opening, and one of the things is it made me look at my town and see things I never saw. And for instance, my mom worked with Sandy Hagler at what we used to call the infirmary here in Good Upstate. And then I learned in the book about how, I guess, traumatic this integration of schools was for her. Would you care to speak to maybe specify more about that? Because that's something I never thought about growing up. And it would be fascinating to learn what your thoughts and feelings were during that time also.
Well, I think, I used to, when I was young, I used to sit in front of my Aunt Sandy a lot. So I heard all the stories, and I think for them, and Mom, Roberta can correct me if I'm wrong, they had everything they needed. They had their schools, they had plays, they knew each other, they had a cafeteria. And to suddenly be pulled from that and watching things on TV and how things were unfolding on TV, they expected to run into, and I think some of them did, the same things that they were seeing on TV, where at one time they had their own peaceful school and didn't feel like they needed to do this. So we had a lot of students, my dad in particular fought every single day at school, fought every day. And I think the traumatic part was that it wasn't eased into, like Wanda was younger, so she started school kind of in an integrated situation. And we had school in an integrated situation. But to have a little, well, it's almost like going from homeschool into an inner city school all in the course of the summer. So I think they struggled. I think they had problems. I think the students where they came into were probably also watching the TV and expecting them to be trouble. And there was. So it was traumatic for her, so much so that she left school. She loved learning and went to the Peace School, I think it was, and then came back and finished her degree here. And that happened for a lot of the students. A lot of them dropped out, and they either went to Peace Corps or whatever to finish, or just got GEDs and never did finish. But that was sad. But we also have community members who had teachers who were very supportive, like Sister Karen Grimes tells the story about teachers and how supportive they were and how they helped. So those of you who are going to be educators, please remember that as you go into your career. I hope that is helpful.
I didn't go through the integration part because I graduated in '64, and that was, it was another year where they went to Appalachian, I think, in '65, and then I think the high school in 1966. So I missed all that problems. But if you think about it, here are some black kids coming into your school that you've never been associated with them before. It's hard for both groups. You have to adjust. But as I said, just learn each other. If you took the time to learn, it would make all the difference in the world. You realize people are just people, no matter what they look like.
Maybe I'll start at the back. You want to just start? Then I'll bring it up front. I'm glad that doesn't make noise when it falls. So you spoke a little bit about the gentrification that you're seeing in the current neighborhood. Could you speak to any efforts that maybe are happening that could prevent it, or some initiatives that you think could help slow that or reverse it?
Well, I think the town of Boone is pretty much on that. We have some very think we're pretty accepting of the change. The hard part is people are building enormous, the word, ginormous houses that are worth billions of dollars, and it's right next to us, and it's hiking up our property tax. So we've been blessed. We have some church members who have helped us work through how to handle those things. And the community is very, like I said, the town council of town is very supportive of maintaining our neighborhood status too, so that's helpful. But there was a big push there for a while, buying up things and wanting to put things in the community. And, but it's not nearly as bad as it was, but I don't mean that it's not going to change. So we're just mindful as well.
And I think we have time for one more quick question. Right down here, I think.
Thank you. Since it's Wednesday evening and you guys are asking me questions, but I did have one question I would like to ask Mr. Bird. I don't know if maybe I missed it when I read the book, but growing up in the next county over, in Ada County, and when the schools were integrated in 1965, and the black teachers that we had weren't offered employment in Ada County. The county that educated their first years of education, our elementary teacher, Ms. Cora Jackson, she had to go to Wilkes County to get employment, and our high school principal, she moved to Shelby to get employment. So I was just wondering, Mr. Roberts, do you remember if the black teachers that were at the black schools at that time, were they offered employment here in Watauga County when the schools were moved to go to the black school? Were they offered jobs? Or?
I don't know. The majority of our teachers, black teachers, were from Winston-Salem. They were teachers at Winston-Salem State, and they came up and would stay to some weekends. They'd go home and come back to teach during the week. So I'm not sure if they were offered jobs or not, or they just decided not to. Do you remember, Carolyn? Yeah.
One of the teachers was named Liz Lowry, and they did approach her in Winston-Salem State to come to the black community and become a teacher. So she had told me that she was approached and everything. They did not go out to seek the teachers, the white teachers. They were in search of black teachers to come in to the black community. And we had from the 1st to the 12th grade, we didn't have preschool or kindergarten. Now I went into the integrated school at 5th grade, and it was tough. It was tough, and I like to say that it was. I felt like sometimes we were on a one-way street, and you didn't know where to get off the street because we were there for the same purposes. We were all there for education, which was the purpose, but they felt that we had lost some of our education by coming from a black school and probably was not educated properly. And that we, as black children at that time, were lacking in education. And I'll tell you an example, and it's in the book. When I wanted to go to Leland Gray College, the guidance counselor at Watauga High School told me, and I wasn't a graduate of Watauga High School, a good student at Watauga High School, my brothers and Willie too, my sister, and the counselor, she told me, she said, I told her that I wanted to go to Leland Gray, and she said it's a private school. school is Presbyterian, you won't be able to go. And I said, why? And she said, because it's private. And so, you know, I thought that was a closed door. And so Virginia Fox, which is the congressman now, and everything, we were in the Warnersburg, and we were in the Upper Bound program at Appalachian, and we got to take a course through Appalachian. And we had not graduated high school, we were in the 12th grade. We were in the 11th and 12th grade to Upper Bound. And so we got to take a college course, and it did count for us, like they do now, to take the courses. And so Virginia Fox was a friend of mine. And so I had been with her in Upper Bound that summer, and I told her, I said, I want to go to college. And she said, why can't you go to college? And I said, the guidance counselor told me I wouldn't be able to, and I want to go to Liz McRae. I don't want to go to a 4-year right now. I chose Liz McRae, and that's where I would like to go. And she said, you can go to Liz McRae. That's why even though we have different circumstances of political beliefs and stuff, she's an educator. She's for education, I do know that. But she told me you can go. And she got me in her vehicle, and she took me to Liz McRae College. And she took me to the team there that day. And she said she wants to come to college here. And I don't see a reason she can't. And Dr. Hayes said, we'll see. And so Virginia worked on it with me, and I entered into Liz McRae College in 1973, right out of Ottawa High School. I graduated from Liz McRae College, and then I went to East Tennessee State University, graduated from there, and was accepted to go into the graduate program, but I decided to come home. So when I went into the integrated school, they thought that our education was lacking because we grew from a black school, and they thought that we did not have everything that we needed to continue our higher education. And for some, I think that's why we don't have as many college graduates that left and went to the integrated schools and went on into school because they were so discouraged that they could not. And somebody might have told them, like they told me, you're not high school material, you're not college material. And so I think some of them felt that and did not further their education, even though we had nurses and we had people that went on to do. But I do think that we were at a disadvantage by people thinking we did not get a good enough education by being in a black school. But I was proud of my education, and I thought my education was just as good as anybody else's education. I was stood firm on my education, and I did stand firm on my education. And I still stand firm on my education today, going from a black school from the 1st to the 4th grade, in the segregated, the integrated school, and the 5th grade, and going on. But I do think that it was tough, and I do think we would have had more college graduates if they had not been discouraged at the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your questions and your comments. So we're going to forego the last question because of time. So you all are off the hook for that. But I do want to thank you all for participating in this panel. And I'm going to bring up Dr. Marty Mesner.
I have a knack for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and I'm not sure tonight is going to be an exception. I feel like I'm the token white guy up here to carry on a courageous conversation. I want to thank these wonderful panelists for sharing their stories, and several things that were brought up in conversation really kind of hit home to me. The idea that everybody should be given a voice. And that's something that historically has not happened to very, very many people. And it's just wonderful that we have a chance to hear other voices. And thank you for, even if you don't show that you're nervous, but maybe you are a little, deciding to participate and speak your voice. Thank you for the audience as well. That if we don't speak out when we're given an opportunity, it really ends up being pointless. The other thing that really struck me about this evening was the importance of community. The title of the book is An Appalachian Community. And I think Appalachian State University has prided itself over the years. I've been here 15 years, so I'm a newcomer. But it's prided itself in really being a community, a family. And as we look around, that seems to be not so much at App necessarily, but around society in general. That seems to be eroding, and that is a scary sign. You know, and back to putting my foot in my mouth. You know, the church used to be a real unifying force in the community. It was a place where people could come together and rally and share their lives. Now it seems the church is, well, in this secular society, has lost maybe some of its influence and has become divisive, even across different denominations and different groups. So these conversations really are important to build the community, to continue to further the community at App. One other thing that I thought was really interesting is the importance of surrounding yourself with positive people. And when we have these conversations, courageous or not, often it's not a positive conversation. It's an argumentative, destructive kind of conversation. And I want to thank all of you who are here this evening. I want to thank Tracy, who I didn't realize was Miss Appalachian. I'm sure there's I need to follow up on for being here and being part of this conversation. This is a great, constructive event, and we thank you so much for being here. I have a couple other things that our quarterback, Meredith Church Pipes, has asked me to do. One, I need to remind students that are here to swipe your card as you exit if you're seeking some sort of record of your attendance. Next, there is reception in the lobby, and there's a station there where you can have your copy of the book autographed. Ms. Jackson, can you autograph? Oh, okay. Happy to hear that. And you can maybe even get a selfie with one of the history makers from Junaluska. And there, I think, are snacks as well, so you should help yourself with that. There are books. I've got a copy of the book here available. I think, from all I understand, they are free compliments of Jamie Parsons and others that have supported this event. So if you don't have one, I strongly encourage you to pick one up and get it autographed while you have a chance by the participants in the history. So, and there was one other comment made about the children's version of the book. So, as far as I am informed, there are copies of the children's version of the book. I'm not sure if they're free or not, but you can ask them. They're not free, so...
I was going to mention that and I completely forgot. It's called the ABCs of Junaluska, and it's a children's book, and they're great gifts. But Anitra Balls, one of the is the illustrator of the book, and then we have Betty Grimes, who is one of the authors of the book, and Carolyn Grimes. She's my Aunt Carolyn. Carolyn Grimes, who is also one of the authors of the book. Roberta, who is also an author of the book. So please take a look at those. And I'm so proud of these women for stepping out of their comfort zone and helping others to learn about the Junaluska community and their stories. So thank you all.